Hey everybody, Ryan from Rhino Hockey Channel here for you today. Alright, I'm going to go over all the trades from today. This is my NHL trade deadline overview, just so you can see what happened today. I plan on in the next couple days getting a video out of ranking how I think each team did at the trade deadline, including everything for the last week. Alright, other than that, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Make sure to hit that like button too. Alright, let's get started with this NHL trade deadline overview. Alright, the first trade of the day was between Chicago and Vancouver. Chicago gets Adam Gaudette and Vancouver gets Matthew Highmore. Now, both have definitely underperformed this year, so this is just more so seeing if these two guys could change how they play. We'll see. I think Gaudette has more of an ability to do that, personally, so I think Chicago is going to get the better outcome out of this, possibly. I could be completely wrong, but I do think Chicago wins this trade. I think Gaudette will get back to last year's form at least. So, we'll have to see in the long run, but I do think Gaudette is the better choice here, and I think Chicago wins this one. But I think it's also Vancouver trying to get rid of contracts because they got a lot of big free agents this year. Alright. Next trade was between Edmonton and New Jersey. Edmonton received Dmitry Kulikov, a depth defender, and New Jersey gets a 2022 conditional pick. It didn't tell me the round or nothing like that, so just a conditional pick for next season. Now, I think this is a decent pickup. I mean, he's a good depth defender, but I think Edmonton still needed more, and I don't think they got it. So I think with the acquisitions for Toronto and Montreal, well, Montreal not for today, but just Montreal overall, and what Toronto's done last couple days, I think Edmonton's pushed themselves back. So, I mean, decent depth pickup, but I don't think it makes a huge difference in the long run, but never know, maybe reinvigorates his career here. McDavid and Draisaitl can do that for people. That next trade was between Tampa and San Jose. This is a minor league trade, more so. Frederick Claesson was traded from San Jose to Tampa for Magnus Corona, a goaltender prospect. So, I mean, it's a depth defender for Tampa if they have injuries. I mean, he has NHL experience, but I don't think he's going to be playing. I think he'll be taxi squad or minor league. But if somebody gets hurt, you can call him up. And Corona, he could develop into something, but we'll have to see. That's the thing with prospects. It's a wait-and-see game. So I guess Tampa wins this one. I guess. All right, now the most confusing trade of today. A three-way trade between Chicago, Vegas, and San Jose. Now, the way this was reported initially, San Jose was not involved at all. Then the details continued to leak out, and we realized the whole extent of the trade. So the first trade in this three-trade set was San Jose got Matthias Janmark from Chicago, with Chicago retained 50% of his salary, and Chicago gets Nick DeSimone, a depth defender. Trade number two now. Vegas gets Janmark from San Jose. Wow, a trade between Vegas and San Jose, that just sounds gross in my mouth. I'm not a fan of either one, and I feel gross saying that. Janmark, his 50% more of his remaining contract was taken on by San Jose. In return, they got Buffalo's 5th-round pick in 2022 that Vegas had previously acquired. Now for the third and final trade of the set. Vegas gets DeSimone and Chicago's 5th-round pick next season in 2022. And Chicago gets Chicago gets Vegas's 2021 second-round pick and 2022 third-round pick. Now, depending on how the picks work out for Chicago, this could end up being in the long term more for Chicago. But in the short term, I think Janmark is a great pickup for Vegas. Definitely going to help their third or fourth line wherever they decide to plug him in. I'm going to guess third line. But getting him cheap and Yeah, they had to get rid of picks, but you know what? When you're going a top contender for the cup, you got to go all in sometimes, and that's what Vegas and Toronto did. So good on them because I think Yamark will be a solid pickup. So I think Vegas wins this one overall in the short term. We'll see long term. All right, next trade was Colorado picked up Carl Soderbergh, who had played the previous 3 seasons for them before leaving in free agency to Chicago, so they reacquired him. And Chicago gets in return the rights to Ryder, Ralston, and Josh Dickinson. Now, I think off the top, short term, I think Colorado wins this one. Long term, we'll have to see how these two develop. They may develop into nothing. They may never ever play a game. But for now, Soderbergh is definitely a win for Colorado. Adding some depth offense never hurts. Now, probably the most surprising trade of the day, well, surprising and kind of not surprising at the same time. Sam Bennett was traded to Florida along with a 6th-round pick in 2022, and Calgary gets in return Emil Heineman, a 2nd-round pick from a couple of years ago, I believe it was, for Florida, and a 2022 2nd-round pick. So basically for Sam Bennett, Calgary gets 2 2nd-round picks. That's kind of ridiculous. Did not think that they would get that kind of return for a guy who has definitely underperformed in his career so far offensively. So, surprising, but you know what? I think it's a solid pickup for Florida. I think he'll be a good 3rd liner for him. I mean, maybe he could plug in the 2nd line, maybe. But I think it's a solid pickup. I think it'll help him this year for sure. They just need to get Ekblad back. That probably would be more effective, honestly. But for right now, I would see Florida would definitely win that one right now. I mean, just in the short term, player wise. Long term, I think Calgary's going to win this one because 2 2nd-round picks for Sam Bennett, that's a steal. And Heineman is not a slouch of a prospect from everything I understand about the guy. So this could end up being a huge steal for Calgary. All right. Next up is Montreal and Philadelphia trading. Montreal gets a 2022 7th-round pick, and Philadelphia gets Eric Gustafson. I wrote that backwards. I'm sorry about that. Montreal gets Eric Gustafson, and Philadelphia gets a 2022 2nd-round pick. 7th round. Sorry, 7th round. So, sorry I wrote that in reverse. That's highly confusing even to myself. But definitely a depth defender for Montreal at this point. A 3rd pairing guy who can add some offense for him. A little bit worrisome on that defensive side, but hopefully they put him with someone who can even that out. But definitely a win for Montreal. I think he'll be a good, solid 3rd pairing guy for him. And Philadelphia only getting a 7th-round pick for him is kind of confusing. Just so you all know, a lot of 2022 draft picks were traded because this year is supposed to be a really weak year and next year is supposed to be a much stronger draft class. So a lot of people would prefer to get next year's draft picks, it seems like. All right. First one for my team, the Ducks, today. Toronto would get Ben Hutton, and Anaheim would get a 2022 5th-round pick. I think that's a good haul for Anaheim getting 5th round for Ben Hutton, a guy they signed as a free agent about 3 weeks into the season. So, pretty good. And I think Toronto gets a good depth defender. He probably will be on the taxi squad for the most part, barring injury. So, I think he'll be a good depth defender, but I mean, short term, definitely a Toronto win compared to a draft pick that we don't know for 2 years, almost. All right. Next up was Nashville acquiring Eric Goodbranson from Ottawa for Brandon Fortunato and a 2023 7th-round pick. Yes, that is 2023, 2 years from now. It's insanity. But that's what it was. I mean, Goodbranson wasn't playing too bad for Ottawa. I mean, he's still a very slow defender. He's a physical defender. That's where he has the advantage, but not as much offense as I hoped when they drafted him 3rd overall. And just not strong enough skater-wise for the current NHL game. But he'll be a good depth defender for him, I think, because he'll play limited minutes, and he will probably hopefully be put with someone that's going to help him out with the speed game, hopefully. We'll see, but I think it may be a good, solid extra defender there for Nashville. This one was mostly a minor trade. I mean, Suomela has played 4 games this year for the Sharks, and Barabanov has played 13 for Toronto. 1 point between the two, and that's for Barabanov. But Toronto gets Antti Suomela, and San Jose gets Alexander Barabanov. Now, it's hard to choose who wins this one because neither one really is playing much, but I guess Barabanov would be the winner for San Jose in that situation, I think. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to watch a whole lot of him playing, so I don't know. Suomela I've seen over the last 2-3 seasons, and he has some serious hit-and-miss flashes. So we'll see how this one works out. I'm not sure if anybody truly wins this one, but if I had to choose, I'd say San Jose again, Barabanov would be a little bit better. All right, now the big one for the Ducks today. Anaheim gets Hayden Fleury. I'm kind of sad to see the return is Yanni Hakanpää. I like that guy. I really did. I was glad to see him play all year with the Ducks. He was their top hitter. So Fleury better be a hitter because they had no goddamn physicality on that team other than Hakanpää or Manson, it seems like. Which Manson was not traded today. Kind of surprised. But Anaheim also got a 2022 6th-round draft pick as well in the trade. But I think Fleury is definitely a really good pickup for the Ducks. I think he is a young guy who can still develop into something. I know he's had a bad year, only 1 goal in the season this year for Carolina. But I think he has definitely got the ability to turn that around and have a better rest of the season. He didn't play tonight, obviously, but we'll see in a couple nights when they play San Jose again. But I think he's going to be a solid player for him. And Hakanpää, you know what you're going to get with the guy. He's not an offensive guy. He is a physical defender, which I think is what Carolina was going for in this situation. So I think both teams end up coming out really well in this one. I think long term, Anaheim will probably do better off. But you never know. Could be wrong. All right. Washington and Philadelphia made a trade. Washington gets Michael Raffl, and Philadelphia gets a 2021 5th-rounder. So I think that definitely Washington wins this one. Raffl will be a good depth forward for the Washington. I mean, most of the trades today, if you haven't noticed, are a lot of depth players. They are not big-name people. I think Hayden Fleury is your only one so far that has any sort of real potential still to be met so far in his career. I mean, you can say that with Bennett, I guess, but I think Bennett has reached his peak. I don't think he has a whole lot more to offer than what he does. Maybe he can do a bit more offensively. I could be wrong, but Raffl is a good... I'm going to go back to this trade. Raffl is a good depth forward for them, and Washington needs it, but you'll see with their next trade what they acquired and why they got Michael Raffl. All right, Winnipeg with their one and only trade for today. Another team that seriously disappointed a lot of fans, I think, today. Just like Edmonton, not really getting much of anything. Winnipeg traded with Vancouver. They traded Vancouver's 6th-round pick in 2021 for Jordie Benn. Yep, that is it. I mean, he's definitely a veteran defender that they were looking for. But I think they would have been better off going for someone like Josh Manson, unless he said no, because he did have a modified no trade, which is possible he said no. I don't know that. We may never know that, or maybe no. But Jordie Benn. Have fun. I think the 6th-rounder wins. No offense. All right, then another trade for Vancouver. They traded with Chicago. Chicago gets a 4th-round pick. Vancouver gets Madison Bowie and a 2021 fifth rounder. So, I mean, Bowie's been bouncing around. I don't know if he's really played that much for Chicago this year. So, I mean, I guess Chicago with a fourth rounder wins. I mean, hard to tell in this situation. Then the big trade of the day, the very last trade of the day. Washington gets Anthony Mantha. That's going to be a huge pickup for them. Not just necessarily this year, but down the line, because Ovechkin, is going to retire. I don't know, I don't want to say soon, but probably sooner rather than later, because he's still UFA after this season. So we'll have to see if he retires or goes to play in Russia, what he decides to do, because it's all up to him. And he's earned that right. He really has. It is pretty set in stone. It is his right at this point. So in return, Detroit gets Jakub Vrana, pretty good forward there in his own right. Not Mantha style, but still a pretty solid forward. Richard Panik, which is just a salary dump in order to afford everything. And a 2021 first rounder. That's a big one for Detroit because Washington is a top team. But the way the top teams are right now, they can fluctuate anywhere from like top 5 to in the upper 10s. It's that close in those areas. So we'll have to see what they end up with because that could be a determining factor too. And a 2022 second rounder as well. Which I think that second rounder is more so for taking on Richard Panik's contract where it's like, here, take this, enjoy. Because second rounders have a far better chance than a third or above at developing into something. But still lower than a first rounder. But still, a first round, a second round, and Jakub Vrana basically, and Richard Panik as a throw-in. Panik, not a big deal. Jakub Vrana, I think that's a solid pickup for Detroit. I really do. Now, I don't know if he's going to replace everything Mantha was doing. I mean, Mantha was having a kind of down year, but he is coming off of, what was that, concussion last year? Or did he tear a muscle in his pectoral muscle? I can't remember. But he had a major injury last year, so he's still coming off of that. I think he's still trying to get into the routine of everything. And he just has not looked the same so far. But hopefully being with Washington reinvigorates him. I mean, being on a winning team can definitely do that for a guy. So we'll see. I think this one is definitely going to be Washington winning. But I think Detroit wins too. Because, I mean, they get Jakub Vrana and a first rounder and a second rounder. And I guess you can say Panik too. So I think both teams win in this trade. But I think Mantha is going to be far more effective in the short term. That's for sure. Because Washington's a challenging team this year. Or challenging for the Cup team this year. So I think this helps Washington significantly. Because this can also give Ovechkin the ability to not be as physical as he has been in years past. So his body doesn't deteriorate faster. So I think this is a good one. I really do. Alright, that's all the trades for today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that already. Make sure to hit the notification bell. Let me know what you think of the trades. Which ones do you think were the best ones? I know it was a really kind of lackluster day, especially at the beginning. But it heated up after the deadline passed. So let me know what you think. Alright. Other than that, make sure to share and comment as well so we can chit-chat about this. Alright, I will see you all next video. Bye, everybody.